Hi there, everybody. Welcome to our open book. Of course, it's Labor Day Saturday as I speak, and we thought a propitious time to open John Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath. Came out in 1939, won both the Pulitzer Prize and the National Book Award. And this was, of course, at a vexing time for America, just following, they hadn't really pulled out of the Depression. Didn't really happen until World War II, now did it? Lots of people still suffering the effects. So I'm just going to start reading. You can forget. I mean, you won the Nobel Prize for literature in, I believe, 1962, but you can forget, even though this book is read in high schools around the country, you can forget what a magnificent writer was John Steinbeck in all ways.
And we read
Travels with Charlie.
Travels with Charlie recently, which we loved.
So let me just begin. To the red country and part of the gray country of Oklahoma, the last rains came gently, and they did not cut the scarred earth. The plows crossed and recrossed the rivulet marks. The last rains lifted the corn quickly and scattered weed colonies and grass along the sides of the roads, so that the gray country and the dark red country began to disappear under a green cover. In the last part of May, the sky grew pale, and the clouds that had hung in high puffs for so long in the spring were dissipated. The sun flared down on the growing corn day after day until a line of brown spread along the edge of each green bayonet. Clouds appeared and went away, and in a while they did not try anymore. The weeds grew darker to protect themselves, and they did not spread anymore. The surface of the earth crusted, thin, hard crust, and as the sky became pale, so the earth became pale. Pink in the red country and white in the gray country. In the water-cut gullies, the earth dusted down in dry little streams. Gophers and antlions started small avalanches. And as the sharp sun struck day after day, the leaves of the young corn became less stiff and erect. They bent in a curve at first, and then, as the central ribs of strength grew weak, each leaf tilted downward. Then it was June, and the sun shone more fiercely. The brown lines on the corn leaves widened and moved in on the central ribs. The weeds frayed and edged back toward their roots. The air was thin and the sky more pale. And every day, the earth paled. In the roads where the teams moved, where the wheels milled the ground and the hooves of the horses beat the ground, the dirt crust broke and the dust formed. Every moving thing lifted the dust into the air. A walking man lifted a thin layer as high as his waist, and a wagon lifted the dust as high as the fence tops, and an automobile boiled a cloud behind it. The dust was long and settling back again. When June was half gone, the big clouds moved up out of Texas and the Gulf, high, heavy clouds, rainheads. The men in the fields looked up at the clouds and sniffed at them, held wet fingers up to sense the wind. And the horses were nervous while the clouds were up. The rainheads dropped a little spattering and hurried on to some other country. Behind them, the sky was pale again and the sun flared. in the dust where there were crop craters, where the rain had fallen, and there were clean splashes on the corn. And that was all.
This is devastating.
I know. A gentle wind followed the rain clouds, driving them on northward, a wind that softly clashed the drying corn. Day went by, and the wind increased, steady, unbroken by gusts. The dust from the roads fluffed up and spread out and fell on the weeds beside the fields and fell into the fields a little way. Now the wind grew strong and hard, and it worked at the rain crust in the cornfields. Little by little, the sky was darkened by the mixing dust, and the wind felt over the earth, loosened the dust, and carried it away. The wind grew stronger. This is the Dust Bowl. The rain crust broke, and the dust lifted up out of the fields and drove great plumes into the air like sluggish smoke. The corn threshed the wind and made a dry, rushing sound. The finest dust did not settle back to earth now, but disappeared into the darkening sky. The wind grew stronger, whisked under stones, carried up straws and old leaves, and even little clods, marking its course as it sailed across the fields. The air and the sky darkened, and through them the sun shone redly, and there was a raw sting in the air.
Is that a word he's making up? Redly? It's wonderful.
Yeah, I believe so. During a night, the wind raced faster over the land, dug cunningly among the rootlets. I think he made that up too, of the corn. And the corn fought the wind with its weakened leaves until the roots were freed by the prying wind. And then each stalk settled wearily sideways toward the earth and pointed the direction of the wind. The dawn came, but no day. In the gray sky, a red sun appeared, a dim red circle, a dim red circle that gave a little light like dusk. And as that day advanced, the dusk slipped back toward darkness, and the wind cried and whimpered over the fallen corn. This is devastating.
Mm-hmm.
Men and women huddled in their houses, and they tied handkerchiefs over their noses when they went out and wore goggles to protect their eyes. And the night came again. It was black night, for the stars could not pierce the dust to get down, and the window lights could not even spread beyond their own yards. Now the dust was evenly mixed with the air, an emulsion of dust and air. Houses were shut tight and cloth wedged around doors and windows, but the dust came in so thinly that it could not be seen in the air, and it settled like pollen on the chairs and the tables and the dishes. The people brushed it from their shoulders. The lines of dust lay at the doorsills. In the middle of the night, the wind passed on and left the land quiet. The dust-filled air muffled sound more completely than fog does. The people lying in their beds heard the wind stop. They awakened when the rushing wind was gone. They lay quietly and listened deep into the stillness. And the roosters crowed, and their voices were muffled, and the people stirred restlessly in their beds and wanted the morning. They knew it would take a long time for the dust to settle out of the air. In the morning, the dust hung like fog, and the sun was as red and ripe as new blood. And all day the dust sifted down from the sky, and the next day it sifted down, and even blanket covered the earth. It settled on the corn, piled up on the tops of fence posts, piled on the wires. It settled on roofs, blanketed the weeds and trees. People came out of their houses and smelled the hot, stinging air and covered their noses from it. And the children came out of the houses, but they did not run or shout, as they would have done after a rain, and stood by their fences and looked at the ruined corn drying fast now, only a little green showing through the film of dust. The men were silent. The women came out of the houses to stand beside their men to feel whether this time the men would break. The women studied the men's faces secretly, for the corn could go as long as something else remained. The children stood nearby, drawing figures in the dust with bare toes. And children sat exploring, senses out to see whether men and women would break. Children peeked at the faces of the men and the women and then drew careful lines in the dust with their toes. Horses came to the watering troughs and nuzzled the water to clear the surface dust. And while the faces of the watching men lost their bemused perplexity and became hard and angry and resistant, there was no break. The women asked, "What will we do?" And the men replied, "I don't know." But it was all right. They knew it was all right, and the watching children knew it was all right. Women and children knew deep in themselves that no misfortune was too great if their men and women were whole. The women went into the houses to work, and the children began to play, but cautiously at first. As the day went forward, the sun became less red, flared down on the dust-blanketed land. The men sat in the doorways of their houses. Their hands were busy with sticks and little rocks. The men sat still, thinking, figuring. Wow.
Will you show the book cover?
Yes.
The cover and the box. And so, was it just Oklahoma or was it a larger
It's
swath?
Oklahoma and parts of Texas and Nevada. And I mean, a genuine classic, and it reminds us of so much. And that people live through. And of course, this was part of an anxiety felt all over the country. Didn't have a dust bowl, and
Oh, stay to the left so we can hear the cuckoo. Stay as you were. Yes. Whatever you were. No, whatever. So was it the other direction? All of a sudden we saw it. I don't know. It's
now I
there.
can see it.
Yes,
Right?
yes, yes.
Okay.
It's about to chime. No, you can stay in the frame.
Yeah, it's interesting. You say amazing passage, Marianne. It's an American passage. You know, this is something written deep into our experience. And
Oh, speaking of which, let me show you what I'm reading. Hold on, let me go get it. It kind of ties into this, but earlier.
okay, we'll be right here.
I'd like you to read some sections one day.
I will. What is
Willa
it?
Cather.
Oh, Willa
Pioneer.
Cather. Oh, Pioneers. I love this. So
It's
I
a
loved it when I
wonderful
read it.
book.
Yes.
I had never read it. I don't think I had ever read her.
My God. It's over 100 years old, too. Alexander Bergson, who arrives on the wind-blasted prairie of Hanover, Nebraska.
But it's earlier.
Yeah. At once a sophisticated, pastoral prototype for later feminist novels, O Pioneers is a work in which triumph is inextricably enmeshed with tragedy. It's the story of a people who didn't claim land so much as submit to it. And in the process became greater than they were. We will read from it.
I have a few sections I would love for you to read from.
All right. You can read it too.
No. I'm going to select them.
All right. She'll do the hard editorial work.
Hardly. And you don't have to read those. Yeah. But I'm really enjoying it. In fact, it starts with this wonderful scene of a cat up a pole. And the little boy is crying because nobody can get his cat down. There's something very charming about the way it begins.
Oh my God. All right. We'll read that soon. Tomorrow night is my late mother's birthday, so I'm going to read from Unforgettable.
Of course.
Okay. So thanks very much for being with us tonight on our open book. Thanks for being with us, so many of you, on our show this morning and the recording of that tough essay.
Yeah.
At times. Sad, sour week. Let's hope for something better. Pray with our feet.
Yes, although as I told Scott, it sounded like pray
in defeat or something. Defeat. Yes, I know.
Which it feels like sometimes too.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for much for being with us. Take care. Good night.